Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm William.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything tabletop role-playing games.
And today we are talking about how to run a combat encounter in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
1, 2, 3, 4. Shoutout
Welcome, adventurers, to the Dungeoncast.
Hey, Brian.
Hey Will.
It's time to fight.
It's fucking right it is.
Pathfinder 2E style.
Yeah, it's real cool. You could do 3 stuffs.
Yeah, you could do three full actions.
3 things.
Every turn.
All the time. Whenever
all the
you
time.
want.
Yep.
Or you can do a thing that costs 2 and a thing that costs 1.
That's true. Or a thing that costs 3.
But yeah. But 3 is the magic number here, right?
3 is the magic number, yeah.
Take me to the battle dome.
All right, so today we are going over how to kill monsters and what Pathfinder 2E combat is like.
Or your friends.
Or your friends. Spoiler alert, it is somewhat more rewarding tactically than 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, my greatest critique of D&D 5th edition is the combat system. It is clunks.
Yeah,
There's things you can do about it, but like presented as is,
It is clunky. It's true. Which is funny because 4th edition, the thing that is the most mechanically sound about it is its combat. Although its combat is very polarizing. But back to Pathfinder. To add to that, it is also somewhat more complex though. With more moving parts, though I would say not too complex. It is less complex and number crunchy than Pathfinder 1st edition or D&D 3.5 or 4th edition. All that being said, I will repeat what I said in the Learning Pathfinder 2E episode. If you are already familiar with D&D 5th edition, or any edition of D&D for that matter, then you are already 70% of the way there to understanding Pathfinder 2nd edition's combat system.
It's true.
Yeah. Initiative, rounds, turns, actions, spells, attack rolls, damage rolls, etc. A lot of it is going to be the same or very close to the same. So don't be intimidated. Dive right in. The water is fine.
Yeah, it's tasty too.
It's also tasty.
But don't drink it
I don't know what
after
it
a bunch
tastes
of people.
like,
Yeah,
but-
don't drink it after a bunch of people have been in there, because like if you pay attention to any like pool party sort of situation, nobody's going to the restroom.
That's...
No one's going to the restroom.
I will say the water is a little bit greener. Anyways, moving on. So much like D&D, Pathfinder handles encounter or combat events in its own individual mode, encounter mode. In this mode, time is divided into rounds, each of which is 6 seconds of time in the game world, just like D&D 5th edition. Every round, each participant takes a turn in an established order, just like 5e.
Yeah.
During your turn, you can use actions, and depending on the details of the encounter, you might have the opportunity to use reactions and free actions on your own turn and on others' turns, just like
the other game we know.
It's true.
It's Pathfinder 2E is like basically D&D with a bunch of other stuff.
Honest to God, Pathfinder and D&D are they're not just cousins. They're cousins that are raised in the same house. Like they're it's all D&D. It really is.
It honestly feels really similar. The thing that Pathfinder has is definitions for everything.
It's true.
It's not wide open and left all loosey goosey, and you don't have to go.
It's a very opposite approach, and I think people can feel one way or another about it the same way they do about 5th edition. So with 5th edition, there's a lot of people that love its openness and feel that's great, and there's a lot of people who feel like they want more to grab onto.
Yeah, well, this has it.
This has that definitely.
Yes.
And I think with Pathfinder, it's kind of the opposite. I think this has a lot to grab onto, and I think a lot of people feel like that's great. But I think a lot of other people feel, and I think they're kind of wrong in this, but they feel like they're obligated to use it and it's too much. And to that I say, like, well, you're not obligated to use any of it. If any of it is ever too much, just don't use it.
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to like suss out how to do it ourselves in situations during our game of Unhallowed, where it was like, well, this is what we could do, and then I would like find it after the fact, and like quantified, and it's like, oh, it's exactly what we fucking did.
Exactly.
You know,
I do think the game is pretty intuitive.
Yeah, it is. It just all spelled out. It's very interesting.
Indeed. And just like D&D, common encounters start with 2 words.
Roll initiative.
Roll initiative.
Roll initiative.
When the GM calls for it, you'll roll initiative to determine your place in the initiative order, which is the sequence in which the encounter's participants will take their turns. Rolling initiative marks the start of an encounter.
Yeah, you can't just say you roll initiative. That's like the most annoying shit. It's like, okay, I roll initiative. I was like, no, you don't.
No,
you
you
fucking
don't.
swing your sword at him. I say that.
Yeah,
you don't
that's-
say that.
Absolutely.
You sit there and I sit here.
So typically, and this is where we start to diverge, you will roll a perception check to determine your initiative. The more aware you are of your surroundings, the more quickly you can respond, is the idea here.
That's cool.
Sometimes, though, the GM might call on you to roll some other type of check. For example, if you were avoiding notice during exploration, you'd roll a stealth check. Or if this is a social encounter, you would call for a deception or diplomacy check.
I see. To kind of give yourself an edge in that niche situation,
Yeah.
you would roll the associative check with that instead of the perception check.
Right. So the GM rolls initiative for anyone other than the player characters in the encounter. If these include a number of identical creatures, the GM could roll one for the group as a whole and have them take turns within the group in any order. However, this can make battles less predictable and more dangerous, so the GM might want to roll an initiative for some or all creatures individually unless it's too much of a burden. Now, I used to be on roll individual train. That used to just be my philosophy. Like, no, they're each individuals. They each get their own turn. I have, over the last year or so, become converted into the nope, all the enemies go at the same time turn if they're the same type of enemy, because I like the swinginess of it. It feels more dangerous. And quite frankly, since I've been running 5e for most of these last few years, I feel like 5e needs a little bit more danger in it. So when 5 of, the orcs go all in a row, suddenly the pendulum has swung heavily in their favor. I like that kind of back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of the round, it's going to all quantify to the same thing it would have if you staggered everybody,
Yeah. I just feel like it has more drama
player orc.
when it's like, oh, they all went, oh my God, look at everything that they've done, and we have to counter it now, versus when it's more incremental.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Sometimes I like to just say, what's the marching order? Because that's, more predictable to what would happen in an actual fight here.
I see.
Okay, you're up front, so, you're first.
Right. Okay.
Sort of thing.
That's interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah, how would it go down here? Because there's no speed stat. You know how other games, other video game RPGs specifically, they have a speed stat.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I think that is supposed to be quantified. We're talking about D&D right now, 5th edition, between the initiative stat and the your actual movement speed stat. But because everything is so homogenized with their speed stat, almost everyone just has 30 feet of speed.
Right.
It's basically a non-stat. And then initiative is, it's a little ephemeral.
It's like chance, because almost everybody's got a +3 all the time.
Right.
Monsters usually end up going first because they have such a high initiative bonus.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, but I see your logic. I see your logic. For sure.
In this game, it's okay, well, it's sort of random situationally.
It's more situational, and also perception is a thing that in Dungeons and Dragons, perception has always traditionally been a skill, right? But the thing about perception is, number one, not every version of D&D has the alternative of perception, which is investigation. But number two, perception always seems to be this thing that we as a community default to over investigation. And maybe it's because a lot of times, especially in 5e, intelligence is kind of the weakest of the 6 ability stats, has the least amount of use, with the exception if you're a wizard or artificer.
Man, that is not my experience playing the game.
Really?
Yeah, because, well, all my characters, I use investigation often.
Yeah, and it works perfectly as either an alternative or even better than a perception roll. What I'm saying is the reason that perception tends to become so dominant at tables is because so few players are playing characters that have any version of high intelligence, because intelligence does tend to be the weakest of the 6 ability scores.
I feel like perception is in 5e. Perception is things you see when you look about, and investigations when you use your brain to you put your mind to it.
Absolutely.
But I've heard it explained that way. I was like, okay, that makes total sense.
And that's how I see it too. But I do think that perception kind of becomes the default look around and search for things.
Yeah, I almost always in 5e, and probably in Pathfinder 2e as well, considering how it's gone so far. Aside from the initiative roll, perception is almost always a narrative roll for me. Who notices that thing up there and gets the opportunity to say something about it.
Exactly, yeah.
And that gets the next scene kicked off.
Right. So because, and this is, I'm kind of, what's the word? I'm speculating here. But because that's been my experience over the 2 editions with the perception skill, I think that's why Pathfinder 2nd edition took it out of the pool and made it just a thing that all characters and players have it. They have different levels of it depending, but like no one is not trained in perception to a certain degree. No one is not proficient in perception because everyone needs it and everyone's going to use it. And so now we're going to make it this default thing that everyone has. Yeah, is it based off wisdom? I think it still is. I'd have to actually check that.
Yeah, it's like being in tune with your surroundings.
Yeah.
You know, that's the real, like, what's actually going on.
And it's also why they've tied it to initiative as well. It's like they've just turned it into a more universal thing and off the skill list.
Yeah, I can see how they can use it for that, for sure.
So unlike a typical check where the result is compared to a DC, the results of initiative rolls are ranked. This ranking sets the order in which the encounter's participants act, the initiative order. The character with the highest result goes first, the second highest follows, and so on until whoever had the lowest result takes their turn last. This is pretty 101 stuff, just like D&D. If your result is tied with a foe's result, this is where it's different. If your result is tied with a foe's result, the adversary goes first.
Oh.
They don't roll off for it. The monster wins. Yeah. If your result is tied with another PC, you can decide between yourselves who goes first when you reach that place in the initiative order. After that, your places in the initiative order usually don't change during the encounter. So it's like, okay, well, you guys decide. And then I guess if you guys want to fight about it, you just roll off then, I guess.
Yeah, roll off. Or I like to sort of suggest, like, you know, what is the bonus to the aforementioned roll?
Right.
Who's got the higher of that, then you win. You know, you go.
Okay, that's a good way to go about it.
You can choose. Like, you don't necessarily go first. You defer or not, you know.
That makes sense.
That I know that's not written here at all. It's just like a home rule, basically.
No, I like it, though. I think the idea here, too, is like, okay, if you guys are a team and have been a team, then you guys might have, like it's usually better when the fighter goes first because they can get out there, right? So it's like if you guys roll together, maybe you guys just agree out of character, but in character, it also makes sense. So the GM keeps track of the initiative order for an encounter. It's usually okay for the players to know this order since they'll see who goes when and be aware of one another's results. However, the GM might want to conceal the names of adversaries the PCs have yet to identify. Any method used to track the initiative order needs to be flexible because the order can change. A creature can use a delay basic action to change its place in the order. When a creature gets knocked out, its initiative order also changes.
Okay. How do you this is a good like DM to DM thing. It's like, how do you track combat? What's your preferred method?
I usually just have I get all the initiative totals. I just write in descending order on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that seems a little bothersome if you have to change their initiative orders, right?
Right. That is very right. What I do there, and often I don't just write out the whole thing. I use initials. I would just cross it and then put a little like arrow to like in between these two. Now VM is going.
You take out your extra big Texas size eraser and like fucking. I think if you're gonna do it like, you know, pen and paper, it's quick, it's dirty, it's right there, it's easy to whip up, and for sure, impromptu combat, it's almost always going to end up on a pad of paper that I have.
Right.
Pre-planned combat almost always ends up on an Excel sheet because you can drag the rows and like.
Oh, that's really useful. For sure.
And pre-planned, it's like, okay, well, I don't need to switch between character sheets and shit. I can keep track of HP in the Excel sheet on the next column over, and you know, oh, there's their AC. Here's the expected like attack. Here are their attacks. Like they're all. It's all right there, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then, or you know, the quick and dirty one is if I have like a template with players on it. Oh, let me add this troll real quick. Open up a D&D Beyond to the troll, or open a book, and then just like highlight between turns after that. You know, there's a spot for initiative. You can put in like a what's it called, like a filter to have it sort by numbers, so you can just have them all listed like, oh, he got a 17, he got a 16, he got a 4, and then
that's very nice.
Cascade it like that. That's probably the best way I found. Ideally, I rarely get around to doing that. Like only for games that we're recording do I ever do that.
Right.
But
for me,
that's a good one, I think.
For me, the pen and paper always works best for me, and it works best for me because like it works best for me in life in general. And I think one of the reasons I think that might be is because when I'm writing with the pen, I feel like it's an extension of myself versus like the digital screen is another thing. So it's like I have to focus on it and then bring the information back into me. It feels like an extra step. And I know that's just a me thing.
Yeah,
but,
you have to train to get to have the computer be an extension of your brain,
right,
of your mind,
exactly.
William.
I know, it's true.
Another thing you can do is get like I've seen people with like a magnet system.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, they'll do that. And there's like little cool tools that go into DM screens that have like a sword with the little name tags that
I've
you
seen,
can like
yeah,
put on too. I've seen
stuff's
some
cool.
cool stuff like
it's
that.
pretty neat.
Index cards are really good. If you have like, if you're insistent on keeping pen and paper, then you have an stack of index cards with all the expected shit you need on it and just put them in the order that they're going to go.
Right.
You know, and flip between the cards. That's how I started doing initiative. I was like, this is too much. Oh man, there's another fucking orc. I don't have another fucking index card and it's going to take a long time to write one. So I just, now it's like, no, not doing that.
Yeah. So in combat, on each player's turn, you have 3 actions that you can take. Many things that you do can do take a single action to accomplish. And you can use these 3 actions in any order you see fit, with the caveat that for multiple attacks, every successive attack or strike action, you take gains an increasing penalty to that attack roll. So your first attack is done with your normal stats. Second attack, you take a -5, and your third attack, you take a -10.
Okay. Yeah, more to remember, but a very cool way to go about it, I think.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that there are ways that you can circumvent these minuses.
There's
by your
a
class.
lot of ways depending on your class and the feats that you take.
Yeah, like fighters are going to be better at fighting, so they might not take this neg based on how you built it.
Yeah, that's true. Also, a lot of their feats. So obviously, I haven't ran a fighter yet, but I've read a lot of fighter feats, and from my memory, a lot of their feats take an extra action to do, and you get more damage out of it, so you don't actually take this negative penalty.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I think power attack is one, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like compiling the 2 attacks into
exactly,
one.
And you get the extra die. But then, if you did want to take that third, that second
additional
attack,
action, the third action,
it counts as a third attack for penalty purposes.
So -10.
-10, exactly.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, if you're not using your actions, you might as well. Like if that's what you're doing
right.
that turn.
If there's literally you got nothing else to do with it, then yeah,
definitely just go for it.
Now, there are some things you can do to take more than a single action to complete. These are called activities. There are 2 action activities and 3 action activities. The most common activity seen in combat is the casting the spell activity. Most spells take 2 to 3 actions to cast, depending on their power and effect, although some only take 1.
What's he doing with his hands over there? An activity. Leave him alone.
Exactly.
Fucking fire appears.
Every participant also gets 1 reaction a round, much like 5th edition D&D. These are things you can do in reaction to something else occurring. Finally, free actions are things so easy and quick to do that they take no action. For example, dropping an item on the ground or yelling a few words, just like D&D.
Yeah, so you get your 3 actions on your active turn, and on your passive turn you get 1 reaction. So you're not going to get those 3 points to use in reaction.
No, no, not at all. They're separate pools.
It's a little loopy thing with the arrow.
Yeah, it's a loopy thing with the arrow. It's true. So let's actually go over what a turn looks like in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Step 1, start your turn. Many things happen automatically at the start of your turn. It's a common point for tracking the passage of time for effects that last multiple rounds. At the start of each of your turns, you can take these steps in any order you choose. Number 1, if you created an effect lasting for a certain number of rounds, reduce the number of rounds remaining. The effect ends if the duration is reduced to 0. For example, if you cast a spell that lasts 3 rounds on yourself during the first turn of a fight, it would affect you during that turn, decrease to 2 rounds of duration at the start of your second turn, decrease to 1 round of duration at the start of your third turn, and expire at the start of your 4th turn. Now, this is very familiar to me in 4th edition, because that's exactly how things work in 4th edition.
Okay.
Except for things tend to be more like certain effect lasts, save ends, right? So at the end of each turn, you'd save, right? So it doesn't actually count down, but it's like ongoing effects like that are very, very common in 4th edition. They're very, very common in this game. 5th edition, it's not really like that. It's usually, well, I guess it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it is
just
save ends,
the way
right?
it's worded is usually poison lasts for a minute, but then oftentimes you can also make saves at the end of your turn to end it.
Right, like it's going to expire in 10 turns, or 10 rounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can also have a chance to save it every turn.
Right.
So you're really unlucky if it actually lasts 10 whole
You're
rounds.
very unlucky. Well, in this case, there's a lot of effects that, no, this will last this many rounds, minimum. But also but it only lasts this many rounds maximum. So, interesting. You can use one free action or reaction with a trigger of your turn begins or something similar. If you're dying, you'll roll a recovery check. Do anything else that is specified to happen at the start of your turn, such as regaining hit points from fast healing or regeneration. The last step of starting your turn is always the same. Regain your 3 actions and your 1 reaction.
Right. So
now you're ready to rock.
Your refresh rate at the end of your turn, that's what it is.
Absolutely. So step 2, do stuff. You can use actions in any order you wish during your turn, but you have to complete one action or activity before beginning another. What actions you use often depend on your class features, skills, feats, and items, but there are default actions anyone can use, described as basic actions below, which we'll get into. If you begin a 2-action or 3-action activity on your turn, you must be able to complete it on your turn. You cannot, for example, begin to high jump using your final action on one turn and then complete it as your first action on the next turn.
Oh, that's funny.
Which I never even thought to do, but I guess, you got to clarify because I'm sure someone is going to try and do that.
Some carryover. Oh no, I mean like the 6 second, like 3 seconds into my turn and then 3 seconds,
That's so funny.
This kind of always, so in the Adventure Zone during the Suffering game arc, and this is spoilers for that show. I know there's not a big crossover between our audience and that one.
I wish there was, because I love that show.
I know, me too. That's how we got in. That's how I got into D&D and stuff.
For me, it was Acquisitions Inc. and then Adventure Zone. But it's still,
and I get it. They don't take it very seriously when they play.
No.
But at its heart, they're playing D&D. So I don't mind it. They're very rules fluid.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Dungeon Daddy's the same way, and people love that show. I think a lot more people listen to our 2 shows than those 2 shows.
Right.
Shout out to you guys if you're listening, Dungeons and Daddies people.
Absolutely.
But in the Adventure Zone, there's this story arc called the Suffering Game, and in one of the fights, Magnus is trying to tie a rope off to something and throw a lance with the rope tied to it to hit a pipe, and he wants to wet the rope
okay,
and make a conduit for electricity or something like that, and Griffin, the DM, was just like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, come on, I'm a fighter. I suck. That guy's casting a bajillion damage worth of stuff. Let me tie this fucking thing to this thing.
I'd be like, you know what? All right, fine.
That's basically what he's like. I don't know what to do with you right now. Because he's really bringing it home. This is what I want. And it's like, okay.
No, that's fair.
Because each of those things in 5e would be considered an action, which you get one of, right? Wetting a rope would technically, you have to uncork your watering skin and wet the rope. Mm-hmm. There's your 6 seconds because it incorporates movement, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And then he's tying it to something and throwing a thing. It's like, okay, well, in Pathfinder, it seems more realistic to do a few things like that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And with 5th edition, for what you just said, it's like, okay, maybe you relegate one to a bonus action, but there's no rules for making movements into other actions like there were for 4th edition, for example.
Yeah,
so
I guess
it gets messy and confusing.
Yeah, and it breaks the rules.
It breaks
right?
the rules, right?
Well, whatever. Fuck off. But basically, another way you could look at it is each turn is 6 seconds.
Right.
What can you accomplish in 6 seconds realistically? Somebody with really dexterous hands that's good at tying ropes or whatever. The things he asked for.
I think it's within reason for a heroic character.
He was pushing it.
Yeah.
And that's everyone, he's right. There's a lot of shit. They were high level. There's a lot of shit going on. He's like, dude, what the fuck? I'm just trying to throw the spear up into this thing. Okay, Travis, go ahead.
That's a common complaint with 5e and with 3.5 was the disparity between martial and spellcasters.
Yeah.
I've seen that argument get a lot louder lately. Over the last year.
Yeah, I think they need to do something about it because 2e solved it, it feels like.
Well, yes and no. I would say mostly yes.
Yeah,
okay. The only edition that ever actually fully 100% solved that was 4th edition.
4th edition rules. Actually, it's really cool.
Yeah, it completely solves the disparity. They are equally powered and equally cool throughout the whole thing. Anyways,
you're playing every role-playing game that has a role-playing aspect and a combat aspect.
Yeah.
It's 2 different games smashed together.
Very much so.
Every time. So
agreed.
Why not make it cool like 4th edition? It wasn't it wasn't even that hard.
No, it wasn't that hard. It was just, here's the cold hard facts, and this is a major criticism, and they're not wrong. 4th edition combat is designed like a war game, a tactical game, or in some cases you could say even like a video game.
It felt very video game.
Yes.
even like halfway damage points for bosses. You know?
That being said, it's incredibly well designed and very, very fun. And if you separate encounter and a non-encounter mode in your head, like there's no problem. But that's one of the major talking points of what was wrong with 4th edition, which honestly we'll do a 4th edition episode one day and we could really get into it. But we're moving a little bit away from Pathfinder 2nd edition.
It's true.
What I want to say though is that Pathfinder 2nd edition has closed that gap drastically.
Yeah.
But some would say
good.
it's even reversed it a little bit, where martial characters stay very powerful throughout the whole thing, and people who are used to D&D spellcasters have this tendency to feel underpowered, even though it's not that they're underpowered, it's that
they're less powerful than the
they're
D&D
less powerful
5e
than they were in
spellcaster.
5e. Yes,
It's
exactly.
so unbalanced. It's so off scale. Like how my high level wizard is like fucking bonkers.
I was reading an article the other day about some speculation on why the phenomenon happens, and they were saying, well, the thing is with spellcasting, we accept that it's magic, right? It could just do crazy stuff because we say it can. But when we think about a fighter fighting with a sword and shield, we have context in the real world for how physics should work. So when we start trying to make it do stuff that doesn't actually make any sense, we kind of reel against it, and so we feel like it's overpowered, and mechanically we pump the brakes a little bit, and then the disparity happens because magic can do whatever the fuck you want. And a fighter is stuck with a sword, and we have a problem letting D&D be the anime that it wants to be, and letting punches and swords do crazy shit.
And that's the thing is, like, as soon as you start running a blade singer, it's like all that shit's out the window, and now your fighter's fucking cool. It just runs off of different stats, but it's a fighter.
It's a big reason why I like Gish characters in general. I like paladins. I like bards that can also fight. I like the mix of both, because as long as you have a little magic, you can make the spectacular of your martial exploits make sense.
Yeah, and there were really cool builds with the spellcaster variant of the fighter, the Eldritch fighter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was ways to make that work. It was Eldritch Knight.
Eldritch Knight, that's what it was. It's been a while.
Okay, we're way off. We got to get back to Pathfinder.
Okay.
So once you have spent all your actions, your turn ends and the next creature turns begins. You can, however, use only some of your actions and end your turn early. As soon as your turn ends, you lose all your remaining actions, but not your reaction or your ability to use free actions. So step 3 is end your turn. Once you've done all the things that you want to do with the actions you have available, you reach the end of your turn, take the following steps in any order you choose, play them, proceeds to the next creature in the initiative order. Number 1, end any effects that last until the end of your turn. They're done. If you have persistent damage condition, you take the damage at this point. After you take the damage, you can attempt the flat check to end the persistent damage. You then attempt any saving throws for ongoing afflictions. You can use one free action or reaction with a trigger of your turn ends. Resolve anything else specified to happen at the end of your turn, and that's your turn.
That's good stuff to quantify.
Yeah. Now, many of a creature or a monster's actions are dictated by their class or stat block, but let's take a look at some of the more common basic actions available to everybody. Basic actions represent common tasks, moving around, attacking, and helping others. As such, every creature can use basic actions, except in some extreme circumstances. And many of those actions are used very frequently. Most notably, you'll use interact, step, stride, strike a great deal. Okay. So, interact is obvious. You interact with the item. You turn something on. You pull a lever, whatever. Stride is what you would call move in D&D 5th edition.
Okay. You
can move up to your speed, right, with stride. And it only takes an action. Step is something from the older editions of D&D. So, you know how in D&D, if you move away from an enemy, you provoke an opportunity attack?
Yes, in Pathfinder 2, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, well, yes, it's not. But
unless
they have the opportunity attack at feet.
Yeah, so it should be much more rare.
Yes, it should be much more rare. But much like older editions of D&D, there's this concept of the 5-foot step. So in I believe Pathfinder and 3.5, it was called the 5-foot step.
Okay.
In 4th edition, it was called the shift, and this one is just called the step. Basically, you can use an action to move 5 feet without provoking any opportunity attacks, and it just takes one action.
Okay.
And then strike is the word here used for attack, right? If you use a strike action, you're attacking.
Okay, gotcha.
There are others, so let's go over them. Some are pretty self-explanatory. Drop prone. You fall prone. Takes an action. Crawl. You move 5 feet by crawling and continue to stay prone.
This is what I mean by Pathfinder is like quantified every little detail of stuff.
Delay. You can postpone your turn lower in the initiative order. But apparently it costs you an action, so you are losing something by doing that.
That's a little weird that it would cost an action.
Well, it's here in. You know what? Let me pull it up.
Well, it's just like gamified, I guess, if it does actually cost an action.
2E delay, because I could be wrong. I didn't actually include the symbol. No, it's a free action.
Okay.
It's a free action, just like 5e.
Okay.
Interact. I already explained that. Okay, here's one. Aid. Now, you can only aid as a reaction. The trigger is an ally is about to use an action that requires a skill check or an attack roll. If you still have your reaction, you'll be like, you know what? I want to aid them.
Cool.
Requirements. The ally is willing to accept your aid, and you have prepared to help. So you might have to actually prepare.
You have prepared to help. Well, that could mean a lot of things. That could just mean, like, I have the item on me that I'm going to use.
Yeah, that's how I read it, but... hey, anyone in the audience who knows for sure if that means something in particular, please let us know, because I want to know. I'm still learning. You try to help your ally with a task. To use this reaction, you must first prepare to help, usually by using an action during your turn. See, there it is. You have to say, you know what? I don't have anything else to do this turn, so I'm just going to prepare to help somebody if I see someone who needs help.
Yeah, I'm going to tie a lasso so I can, like, restrain a guy,
right.
So that my fighter can hit him even harder.
Sure. You must explain to the GM exactly how you're trying to help, so you can't be vague like I was trying to be, and they determine whether you can aid your ally.
Okay.
It's interesting. When you use your aid reaction, attempt a skill check or attack roll of the type decided by the GM. The typical DC is 20, but the GM might adjust this DC for particularly hard or easy tasks. And then we have some parameters for critical success, and critical failure. A critical success is you grant your ally a +2 circumstance bonus to the triggering check. If you're a master, this increases to a +3, and if you're a legendary in the check, it's a +4. A success is just a +1, and a critical failure, you actually inhibit your ally and give them a -1 to what they're trying to do.
Bummer.
That's hilarious.
That's funny to work up on the spot.
Oops. The next action we have is escape. You attempt to escape from being grappled, immobilized, or restrained. Choose one creature, object, spell effect, hazard, or other impediment, imposing any of those conditions on you. Attempt a check using your unarmed attack modifier against the DC of the effect. This is typically an athletics DC of a creature grabbing you, the thievery DC of a creature who tied you up, the spell DC for a spell effect, or the listed escape DC of an object, hazard, or other impediment. You can attempt an acrobatics or athletics check instead of using your attack modifier if you choose.
Okay.
Leap. You take a careful short jump. You can leap up to 10 feet horizontally if your speed is at least 15 feet, or up to 15 feet horizontally if your speed is at least 30 feet. That's going to be most people.
Mm-hmm.
You land in the space where your leap ends. If you leap vertically, you can move up to 3 feet vertically and 5 feet horizontally onto an elevated surface. Jumping a greater distance requires using an athletics skill, and there's lots of feats for bigger, better, quicker jumps.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody's like, oh, the centaur, it's OP. They only have 4 feet.
All right, the next one is ready. This is like ready in action. You prepare to use an action that will occur outside of your turn. Choose a single action or free action that you can use and designate a trigger. Your turn ends at this point, so you probably want to do this at the end of your turn.
Okay.
If the trigger you designate occurs before the start of your next turn, you can use the chosen action as a reaction. Provided you still meet the requirements to use it, you can't ready a free action that already has a trigger.
Okay, that's cool.
Lastly here, not that this is the last one, it's just the last one I included. It's take cover. Requirements: you are benefiting from cover, are near a feature that allows you to take cover, or are prone.
There's so many cover rules in every game.
I know.
It matters too.
It does. You press yourself against a wall or duck behind an obstacle to take better advantage of cover. If you would have a standard cover, you instead gain greater cover, which provides a +4 circumstance bonus to AC, to reflex saves against area effects, and to stealth checks to hide, sneak, or otherwise avoid detection. Otherwise, you gain the benefits of standard cover, which is a +2 circumstance bonus instead. This lasts until you move from your current space, use an attack action, become unconscious, or end this effect as a free action.
Okay. I know in 5e it's like worded a lot more complicated than that. It's like
5e
3/4 cover, quarter cover.
Yeah, there's that,
Or
and
is quarter cover? It's
hide,
half
hide
and
is your
matter?
action, right?
Yeah.
You have to take a hide action. So there goes your action.
Well,
Now
unless
you
you're
can't
the
do shit
rogue,
unless
who's
you're a rogue.
the normal one doing this
Right.
type of bullshit.
Exactly. But in this case, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do this thing, and you know what? Like, I have a place here I can hide. I'm going to hide there. Like,
Yeah,
ma'am, you just
yeah.
did 3 things. That's cool.
I know, and it probably still took 6 seconds. Like 5e is a little strict with its combat.
Yeah, it's really strict with its allowances of what you can do based off its action economy.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fluid, like the no opportunity attack thing is like,
yeah,
it opens it up so much.
It
Just
does.
that one rule.
It does.
Like, yeah, man. Like, I just have such gripes with 5e's combat. Like, seeing something else at all is like, ooh, cool. Neat.
Yeah. Well, it's just weird that like 5e has the whole disengage thing, but again, there goes your turn,
Mm-hmm.
right? While like every other edition up to that had the shift or 5-foot step.
Yeah.
Like, why did we lose that? I don't understand. But
yeah, like there's ways around, you have to play smart and like giving up your turn to move away. Maybe it's all situational. It's just so hard to tell if it's going to be worth it or not.
right.
And I think that's why everybody gets that pool of options, like hide, disengage, dash, like those types of things. Anybody can do it. But I like the variety here in 2E, and like doing a few things makes sense.
And the fact is, no one likes to give up their turn. Even DMs don't like to do that to their monsters most of the time.
It's one of the most powerful bartering chips, like in the combat scenario, is like making people lose their turn,
right. That's
or giving up,
right.
like casting a spell and having it miss. Essentially, your turn got skipped.
Right.
You lost a resource too. It sucks.
It does.
It feels bad.
Yeah. You know what I do when I feel bad?
Take a
short
rest. Let's fucking do
Let's
that.
do
shit.
it.
We've returned. We're fucking back. Indeed we are. Yeah. Tell me what else I could do if I want to beat someone up in a fantasy role-playing game.
Okay. Well, next we're going to talk about movement, so you can move.
Oh, okay. I forgot to talk about Patreon.
Oh, you did. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Patreon.
I'm going to use an action to go back and talk about it.
Yeah, sure. We get 3 actions here in Pathfinder 2nd
I'm
Edition.
going to use my
so
second action to actually talk about it.
let's do it.
Hey, go to patreon.com/Dungeoncast where you can support the show monetarily. It helps a lot. It's like the best way you can support us. And when you do that, you get lots of benefits,
And extra goodies.
extra bennies and goodies. One of those benefits is that you get to listen to these kinds of episodes ad-free.
And early.
Yeah, if there are ads playing anywhere or baked in or whatever, those shits got obliterated.
Yeah. Decimated.
And they're fucking not here. So yeah, and early as we can get them. I mean, like sometimes we can't get them early.
Usually early.
They're
though.
usually, I don't know, it's like 50-50 these days.
You
people
really,
keep getting
you're not selling this Patreon,
People
man.
keep getting sick. Well, it's ad free, and that's
It's true.
dope. And it's
People
it's
do
usually
keep
like
getting sick.
on
It's that
those
time of
times,
year.
it's like 6 hours early or whatever, which is still
Hey,
cool.
Early's early.
Yeah, and fuck ads.
And
I mean,
also-
we need them to
we need them,
survive.
but
and
yeah.
we love all our
If
advertisers.
you don't want ads, go there. You won't get them anymore.
Yeah, so you can do that, or you can listen to like live plays and actual plays we've done.
Lots of them.
There's a ton of them in there. There's stuff currently coming out in the tier Omega, which is the next tier up off the $5. And right now we're doing something called Super Short Saga. That's dropping in there right now. You can listen to Goblin Punks. We're working on Sexy Battle Wizards. Going to finish that one pretty soon. Yeah, and your support, it means a lot to us. We do like equipment upgrades and we pay our bills and shit. So that's fucking cool.
Feed my kids.
Yeah, so thanks. Thanks to everybody who's supporting. We have patron voted topics that
Monthly?
that
every
you
month.
guys nominate in Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be a part of that stuff, donate at any level. There's also higher tiers with merch, and like that's unique for the year.
Yeah.
Go
every
check
year.
it out. It's a really cool place to be. Patreon.com/Dungeoncast. You get like a Discord invite for a special channel and everything.
Yep.
Okay, now tell me what I can do to beat people up.
Let's go.
Fantasy role-playing
We're
games.
moving now. So movement works much as it does in 5th edition D&D. Your movement during encounter mode depends on the actions and other abilities you can use, whether you can stride, step, swim, or climb. The maximum distance you can move is based on your speed. Certain feats and magic items can grant you other movement types, allowing you to swiftly burrow, climb, fly, or swim.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is a game that you play like on a grid, right?
Yes, so grid movement is very much encouraged with Pathfinder 2nd edition. Not as much as, say, 4E, which it's almost
that shit.
mandatory.
Yeah.
Although I have done it with Theater of the Mind, but it's almost mandatory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many niche rules for movement.
I think we did like half of tangent Patreon again for Vault Raiders and the Isle of Dread. I think the first half was Theater of Mind, and then the dungeon we did Grid.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago.
Man, it was a long time ago.
But I think that's how I ran it. And that was a 4th edition game.
Yeah, that was like one of our first goes at actual play stuff.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's on Patreon. Yeah,
it is on Patreon. Check it out.
Or hexagons, right? Like you can do.
Or
hex.
yeah, that's a hex movement is also another thing.
I think hex is easier. They're interchangeable, but hex is easier for spells, spell ranges and stuff like that. Yeah, I think,
I've never actually used hex stuff just because I've never felt the need.
Yeah, when you're using the grid, like you can make cones and stuff, like shapes and like anything that falls within the square. You know, it's real easy to visually see that. But like thinking about like what it's supposed to do in like AoE scenarios, like 15-foot spacing between, like that's a little weird on a 4x4 kind of.
Yeah, well, okay, so with cones, I actually think it's trickier with the square grid, right? Because you have to actually like do a thing and like see what it intersects as.
Yeah.
What I liked about 4th edition was they didn't do cones. What they did was close blasts. And
okay.
So you would have a 15-foot close blast, right? So basically, and you could point it in any direction, like on any square touching your square, even diagonally, and it just was a 15-foot by 15-foot cube that you just land, nice. And you as long as it was touching you, it quote unquote worked.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, I've never used text stuff, but it looks cool. So grid movement is encouraged but not necessary. When a character moves on a grid, every 1-inch square of the play area is 5 feet across in the game world. Hence, a creature moving in a straight line spends 5 feet of its movement for every map square traveled, but because moving diagonally covers more ground, you count that movement differently. The first square of diagonal movement you make in a turn counts as 5 feet, but the second counts as 10 feet, and your count thereafter alternates between the two.
Okay.
This was true in 3.5, but not in 4th. I don't think it's true in 5th. I don't remember. Because I do everything Theater of Mind in 5th.
Counts 5 feet. The second counts as 10. Yeah, I don't know that rule.
It alternates. Yeah,
I really don't.
Again,
such I'm a downer on 5e combat. I know, but like, I really don't like it, and so I Theater of the Mind everything.
I Theater of the Mind everything. Not just because it's so easy. That's one of the great things about 5e. I love that I can Theater of the Mind 5e, because it really plays to my DM style.
Yeah.
But anyways, flanking is the next thing we're going to talk about. When you and an ally are flanking a foe, it has a harder time defending against you. The creature is considered flat-footed, taking a -2 circumstance penalty to its AC. The creature's flat-footed to melee attacks from creatures that are flanking it. So if you're not flanking it, you don't get that bonus. So if you're that third wheel who's not part of the flanking, you don't get it.
Okay, so that's cool. Their AC is just down. That makes more advantage is so powerful. Like flanking in 5e is like ridiculous. It's so dumb.
So that's one of the things about 5e is advantage and disadvantage are fantastic mechanics, but they're very powerful.
Yes.
And I understand 5e's reticence about not wanting to do too many -2 penalties, but honestly, it could do with a lot of more -2s and +2s, because -2s and +2s by themselves are easy to keep track of, as long as like you make it so nothing can really stack.
Okay.
If you're trying to keep it simple, I don't mind things stacking. 4th edition is full of stacking, but
yeah, but you just got to be really meticulous about the way you track all that stuff.
Yeah, if you have the philosophy of keeping it simple, just make sure they can't stack, and it's really easy to keep track of. -2s and +2s, real simple. To flank a foe, you and your ally must be on the opposite sides of the creature. A line drawn between the center of your space and the center of your ally's space must pass through the opposite sides or opposite corners of the foe's space. Additionally, both you and the ally have to be able to act. You must be wielding melee weapons or be able to make an unarmed attack. You can't be under any effects that prevent you from attacking, and you must both have the enemy within reach. If you're wielding a reach weapon, you use your reach with that weapon for this purpose.
I bet that's detailed like on the weapon, huh?
Yes, that would be detailed on the weapon. Now, I do find this interesting because if you are a wizard and you don't have an actual weapon that you're proficient in, then you can't flank.
Yeah, you're fucking worthless back there.
Yeah, exactly. So get out of there. What are you doing? You're supposed to be in the back.
Yeah,
cast the
that's
spells.
true because there's no real advantage to it at all.
Yeah,
so.
I do find that interesting that they took the time to do that, and I think it's the right decision. It's just
Like, check this dude with like the chair he found in the room, like behind me. I do not care.
Yeah, exactly. I do not care because he has a strength of 8.
Interesting.
All right, next up, let's talk about cover. We mentioned it earlier with the take cover action. Now let's actually talk about cover.
Okay.
So when you're behind an obstacle that could block weapons, guard you against explosions, or make you harder to detect, you are behind cover. Standard cover gives you a +2 bonus to AC, to reflex saves against area effects, and stealth checks to hide, sneak, or otherwise avoid detection. You can increase this to greater cover using the take cover basic action, increasing the circumstance bonus to a +4. If cover is especially light, typically when it's provided by a creature, you have lesser cover, which grants a +1 circumstance bonus to AC.
So hiding behind someone is cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
A creature with standard cover or greater cover can attempt to use stealth to hide, but lesser cover is not sufficient for that.
Is hiding behind someone true for 5e too? Can you do that? I mean, I guess theoretically, yeah.
I think the halfling specifically has a feature allowing you to hide behind larger creatures.
Okay.
So I'm going with no. You normally can't.
That seems lame. I like this idea where it's like, well, you're behind shit. You're behind shit.
Yeah.
I always thought that was weird. Like, you're behind somebody. There should be like
penalty
some sort
for
of bonus or penalty to, depending on what side of the fence you're on.
So I keep bringing up 4th edition just because I remember it well enough. So in 4th edition, if allies were in the way of you attacking, no penalty, because the idea is like you could talk and be like, "Hey guys, move!"
Okay.
But if an enemy is in the way of another enemy that you're trying to get, there's a partial cover penalty.
Interesting.
So usually the GM can quickly decide whether your target has cover. If you're uncertain or need to be more precise, draw a line from the center of your space to the center of the target space. If that line passes through any terrain or object that would block the effect, the target has standard cover. If the line passes through a creature instead, the target has lesser cover. When measuring cover against an area of effect, draw the line from the effect's point of origin to the center of the creature space.
Okay. I like it.
Basically, it's like your GM should be able to just do it quickly, but if you really want to be precise, here's a method to do it.
Yeah, which is good. Applause to them for like knowing what argument is about to occur at the table with that one guy.
Exactly. It's like, okay, like it's literally like, here are both solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the first solution that'll work for probably most tables, and here's the solution for
here's something
the
inarguable.
table that needs it.
Yeah.
Next up, immunities, weaknesses, and resistances.
Neat.
So immunity. When you have immunity to a specific type of damage, you ignore all damage of that type. If you have immunity to a specific condition or type of effect, such as being poisoned or poison damage, you can't be affected by that condition or any effect of that type.
That's right. Get fucked in every tabletop, poison.
No, I think poison is much more effective in this one. I just brought it up because of 5e.
It better be.
Yeah, you can still be targeted by an ability that includes an effect or condition you are immune to. Excuse me. You just don't apply that particular effect or condition.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
If you have immunity to effects with a certain trait. So, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, almost everything has traits. Attacks have traits, feats have traits, weapons have traits, traits all around.
The
Keywords,
tag system, right?
The tag system, right? So, certain creatures or even characters might have immunities to very particular traits or tags, as you said, such as the death effect or poison or disease. You are unaffected by effects with that trait. Often, an effect has a trait and deals that type of damage. This is especially true in the case of energy damage types. In these cases, the immunity applies to the effect corresponding to the trait, not just the damage, so you get both.
Tabletops are funny because the death effect, like, he didn't die. That's the death effect. Or the death effect is he no longer breathes. He's out.
That's too funny.
Gone forever.
Immunity to critical hits works a little differently. When a creature immune to critical hits is critically hit by a strike or other attack that deals damage, it takes normal damage instead of double damage. This does not make it immune to any other critical success effects of other actions that have the attack trait, such as grapple or shove.
See, are there rule standards for like negating crits in 5e? That sounds like a cool item I would make up to like hand out, instead of like something that's baked in.
The only item that I know 5e has that does that is adamantine armor. Just makes you immune to crits. But,
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, like,
That's a bonkers item.
It's a bonkers item.
It's like endgame shit.
It is. And I imagine, obviously, my experience is limited. I imagine it is kind of probably more limited in this case too.
Okay.
Another exception is immunity to non-lethal attacks. If you are immune to non-lethal attacks, you are immune to all damage from attacks with the non-lethal trait, no matter what other type the damage has. For instance, a stone golem has immunity to non-lethal attacks. This means that no matter how hard you hit it with your fist, you're not going to damage it.
Yeah.
Unless you have fists that don't have non-lethal trait, such as if you're a monk, because these are weapons.
Yeah. These hands is rated E for everyone.
Indeed. Next up, weaknesses. If you have a weakness to a certain type of damage or damage from a certain source, that type of damage is extra effective against you. Whenever you would take that type of damage, increase the damage you take by the value of the weakness. For example, if you are dealt 2d6 fire damage and have a weakness 5 to fire, you take 2d6 plus 5 fire damage.
In the real world, everybody has a weakness to fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine.
Very much so. So does that make sense? Like, weaknesses in this game have a numerical value.
Yeah.
And that is the extra flat damage that you take.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to, instead of like flat doubling stuff, that's too crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't really be doing that.
It worked like this in the previous, at least 3.5 and 4e. So when I say previous D&D editions, those are the two I mean. I don't have experience with first and second, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah.
If you have a weakness to something that doesn't normally deal damage, such as water, you take damage equal to the weakness value when touched or affected by it.
Okay.
If more than one weakness would apply to the same instance of damage, use only the highest applicable weakness value. They don't stack. This usually happens only when a monster is weak to both a type of physical damage and a given material. So, like, I guess, like silver slashing to werewolf paper.
Yeah. To lichen bodies.
Yeah, there we go. Next up is resistances. If you have it works the same as weakness in reverse. If you have
Were you making a rock, paper, scissors joke?
yeah, it was a really bad one.
Like,
I
why
was
did
just
you
like,
say
what's
paper?
weak to slashing? And I couldn't think of a monster. I was like, paper. Anyways.
Oh my god.
You have resistance to a type of damage. Each time you take that type of damage, you reduce the amount of damage you take by the listed amount. Resistance can specify combinations of damage types or other traits. For instance, you might encounter a monster that's resistant to non-magical bludgeoning damage, meaning it would take less damage from bludgeoning attacks that aren't magical, but would take normal damage from your +1 mace since it's magical, or your non-magical spear since it deals piercing damage. A resistance also might have an exception. For example, resistance 10 to physical damage, except for silver, werewolf paper, would reduce any physical damage by 10 unless the damage was dealt by a silver weapon. If you have more than one type of resistance that would apply to the same instance of damage, again, they do not stack. Use the highest applicable resistance value. It's possible to have resistance to all damage. When an effect deals damage of multiple types and you have resistance to all damage, apply the resistance to each damage type separately. So this does stack. If an attack would deal 7 slashing damage and 4 fire damage, resistance 5 to all damage reduce the slashing damage to 2 and negate the fire damage entirely. That's probably some high legendary monster shit right there.
Yeah, and there are attacks that do like both types of damage, right? Like
Yeah, there are
flaming
attacks.
punches and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. There are plenty of attacks and stuff in this game that will use multiple.
Yeah, lightning
damage
sword,
types.
thorn whippies, all
Thorn
kinds
whippies,
of yeah, those
my
are all
favorite.
just combo stuff.
It's absolutely right.
And I was just like flashback to high school, taking out my notebook, and the person next to me is like, "Why is there hair all over your notebook?" And I'm like, it was made that way. You know, because it's a werewolf. It's werewolf paper.
I got it. Thank you.
Should we get ready for a long rest?
Probably, but do you have any other questions about how combat is ran in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? How you work it?
My closing. Well, okay, so we have yet to play one.
Don't tell them that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, like, goddamn, it's
not my fault. You guys didn't fight the corrupted. No, spoiler. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not your fault. But also, okay, so check out patreon.com. You'll be able to check out Unhallowed there pretty soon.
I had a fight planned for them. They expertly avoided it, and so we didn't have a combat that session.
Sometimes we just wait it out.
They
and
really
and
did.
The problem goes away.
It sure did.
It's like, I don't know why I'd walk over there. Honestly, I don't really know why I'd do that, so I'm just going to stay here. And everybody was like, that sounds reasonable. And then the thing just went away.
Yep.
I mean,
there was a lot of checks had to be passed, and they were all passed, so it worked out.
We did it. We were very, like, they all made sense, and
yeah.
I probably could have died in that scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I didn't.
I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, I'm going to do what I think I should do, and I might die. Let's see how it goes. And that's playing role-playing games. So, yeah, we didn't do our combat yet, but, like, the theory here, I wrote this little cheat sheet for that game that I was going to pass around the table, but like, it's not very big. Like,
no, it's pretty streamlined.
If you're familiar with 5e combat, it's not really. It's a sidestep over into a few extra rules, really, and that's honestly what it feels like is extra stuff to
extra definitions.
Yeah, like, well, even just the action economy is buffed. In a way, like there's more to do, so there's more to keep track of, and
exactly
in a way that it, like I was saying with the rope tying thing and like throwing something or whatever, it better for that quantifying that type of stuff, so you don't have to get into the rules water and wait around and try to figure it out. This kind of handles it. I feel like I can't imagine a scenario in Pathfinder where it's not quantified somewhere. Like,
yes, if you ever have a question, there's going to be a rule for it.
Yeah, like
if you need it, it'll be there for you as a tool.
Yeah, searching for rules in Pathfinder is like crazy. So just let the guide be your guide. You don't really have to come up with it like 5e, which is cool. I like that for combat. For switching from roleplay to combat, I want all the rules.
Right.
I want all the
Very
extra
much
rules.
so,
When I switch out of all range mode because I can't get Star Fox out of my head. When in Star Fox 64 you go into the 3D map instead of just the straightforward map, and he's like all range mode and his wings change modes.
Okay, yeah.
I've definitely brought this up on the show before.
You probably have,
yeah, for sure. That's a great game. Star
I
Fox
hear
64,
nothing but good things about it. Yeah, it's
play
a classic.
It's a
from my
great
understanding.
pilot game. Like,
that's cool.
A lot of fun.
But I do get your analogy for sure, and I agree with it. Although, what's cool about Pathfinder 2nd Edition is that it provides everything that you need, but if you don't need it, don't use it. So like there are people who feel opposite, who want a lot more structure when it comes to out of combat. And trust me, this game definitely has plenty of it. I won't be using a good portion of it because I don't need it.
Right.
But whenever I do need it, I know it's there and it's a quick lookup.
Yeah, and that's totally, it feels like that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we don't know this part, let's go look at it. And there's like, tight rules for it. And it's like, okay, well, we can keep as much of this as we feel necessary.
Exactly.
Like, it's better that they did more. Did we talk about like death and being wounded condition and stuff like that?
We talked about that in the Learning Pathfinder.
We did.
Detailed
You're
it
right.
perfectly. So
that
I
was
left
a
it out
detailed
here.
portion too.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say because it's on my cheat sheet
You're
at the
right,
very
yeah,
end, and I'm like, oh,
Wounded and
I think we
dying,
only
yeah.
mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah,
but
we talked about it in a different
So
episode.
go check out our previous Pathfinder.
Yeah, it would have been the
episode.
Learning Pathfinder 2nd Edition episode.
Yeah, because what happens at the end of most combats? Death.
For some.
Yeah, for some.
All right.
Not for people that are good at it.
I think it's time to take a long rest.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the long rest. This is the part of the episode where we take a break from kicking the ass of all the people that tried to fight us and rolled bad perception, and we got the jump on them and they died.
It took 3 actions.
Hey, we want to say a special thank you. We have a P.O. box for those of you that don't know, and you're welcome to send stuff there. A heads up via email is cool, so I know to go check it. I try to check it pretty regularly. It's hard to get to the post office, man. Like, I work like until 5 most of the weekdays, so fucking I can't go during the week. And if you don't get there early enough on Saturday, the fucking window is closed. You can't go pay for shit or like pick up bigger packages. So we got a big box. And it didn't fit in our P.O. box, and it didn't fit in the locker that I could access with my P.O. box without having to go to this window. So this actually came like weeks ago, and I just got it, yesterday? I think I picked up the package, and then this episode is airing like 2 weeks after I'm recording it. So it's been a while, but we want to say thank you to Chris, who sent us some really awesome dice boxes. My goodness.
Yeah, these things are awesome.
They have our logo like carved into
them.
or like wood burned into it.
No, that I don't think
not
it's
wood burned.
It's
It's carved.
It's impressed into it.
Yeah, like
it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think it's by hand because it's too perfect on all 3 boxes.
Yeah,
but
it's beautiful. It's got our logo perfectly on it. They're made of wood, and they're very roomy inside. And there's like 3 compartments
Yeah, they're
for
magnetic,
dice.
like very
They're
nice.
magnetic. Yeah, these things are beautiful, man.
So you could fit like a set of dice, and then like either extra dice or like minis.
Or pens even. You can put pens
Yeah,
in
you
here.
can totally put a pen on that side and then put the dice in the other container. You know, whatever you need. But it's a really cool, like, strong magnet.
They're stained beautifully. It's like, they're
Yeah, Will
well
got like
done.
a pine, and I got like a cherry wood.
Yeah.
And then there was a third one that was like also cherry wood or something like that. I don't even know. They're fucking awesome though. And we really appreciate it, Chris. So he actually sent a note that I'm going to read. So yeah, if you guys want to send stuff to the PO Box, we'll talk about it on the show. We'll read your letters, that sort of thing. And we really appreciate it. So Will and Brian, thanks so much for all that you both do. Making dice boxes and other game accessories has become a passion of mine, and I love getting to share it with other players. I wanted to show my appreciation via these dice boxes. They're made of solid purple heart, canary, and paddock. Paddock?
Unsure.
P-A-D-A-U-K. That's my
Paddock.
Yeah, that's my safeguard for when I can't say a word right. I'll just spell it. You guys know. They'll fit standard size dice, and the foam inserts are removable if you'd like. I'm not in business in any official capacity and mainly pursue this kind of work as a hobby. Mostly I just like bringing ideas to life for other passionate gamers and it not costing me too much. To that end, you should either of you like anything else made, whether it be rolling trays, a DM screen, etc., I'd be happy to oblige. Shout out to Demogorgon, Chris.
Shout out to Demogorgon.
Thank you, Chris. That was a really nice message.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
I mean, don't go crazy. I'm happy to accept anything that you send. And on their next for the last 2 episodes, well, okay, so we had an episode with Diggy, where like our normal display, we're on Zoom.
Yeah.
So our normal display isn't available. But this episode, we had it on display
Oh,
up
yeah, it's
front
right
the
up
whole
there.
time. I put mine up
Cool
there.
beans.
We'll pick the let's see what types of wood there. I imagine that's the canary is the lighter one.
I would imagine so.
I mean, I could look it up real quick, but I don't feel like it.
This one up here, the one that's on display, that's definitely Purple Heart.
Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, we had one up here in front of our Demogorgon plushie. So if you guys want to check them out, just scroll back a little bit if you're on YouTube and like zoom in to the setup
you'll see
up
it
front.
up there. Yeah.
So thanks so much, Chris. When I opened, I didn't know this was coming necessarily. Like Mariko might know because there might have been an email that so. When I opened the box, I looked inside. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I saw these 3 boxes. Like, yo, what the fuck? These are amazing. I was like, not expecting
really
it.
cool.
It made my day. So yeah, thanks a lot. If you want to make a DM screen for us, man, I'll throw it up front up here.
Oh yeah,
that'd be so cool, and I'll use it for games too. It'll live in the studio.
Yeah, I'll use it for Unhallowed.
Yeah, why not? That would be radical. Otherwise, like we're happy to pay you and promote whatever, but like you said, you're not doing a business thing. So I think it's really cool that this is a hobby that you have and that you're so good at it because these pieces are excellent.
Yep,
this is like something I'd buy in a shop
at my games.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Will had some new dice on him when we got here, and when he saw him, he's like, "Oh shit!" He immediately throws his dice in there.
I did, yeah.
I'm gonna go get some dice specific to put in here because I have another case for the dice I'm using right now. I don't know. I'm weird. I like to leave the setup as is. Like we got those the healing dice. And that's like its own setup too. I just left those alone. So I'll grab that box. So what I mean to say is the box that you've sent us is special to me in a way where it requires me to go buy dice to make sure it is its own unique set of everything. So thank you so much, man. That's so cool. Yeah, we're happy to anything you want to make us, send it. We'll definitely talk about it on the show, but don't go crazy. If you want me to send you some cash, man, I have no problem with that at all. These are fucking great. So yeah, thanks a lot. It's cool getting something like this in the PO box too. So every once in a while we'll get like letters or whatever. But yeah, that I think it's 1784. I don't know. Go check it out in the notes. I can't remember
the description.
I can't remember it. It's just not there, but it's in every episode description. So what else we got? Support us on patreon.com/thedungeoncast. We talked about it in length already, all the cool stuff that's there, but it helps a lot. It really does. And we're working hard to make sure that there's content in there for you guys on a weekly basis, as well as like as much actual play stuff as we can get in there. Plus all the newsletters and polls that Will's been doing are really cool. I see a lot of cool interaction going on. So yeah, check that out. You can find us on social media. You can find us in Discord if you guys want to chat or talk about anything. There's been a lot of activity in the Dungeoncast channel specifically, which is very cool. Always happy to talk about the show or any questions you guys have in there. Also, Flashbang and the Surgeon has moved to a weekly release. I think I talked about that previously. It's just going to be a lot easier, and I don't really care about the staggering thing anymore. Like we'll get to whatever needs to be in the feed next when we get to it. Like, yeah, we have the time. Yeah. So very cool. I think right now it should be session 3 is done, which is inspired by the Scarecrow from Batman the Animated Series. For anybody without context, Flashbang the Surgeon is a Batman the Animated Series actual play game that I run with my good friends Steve and Jake. Your special guest Jake, as a matter of fact. And our good friend, I think I call him good friend Steve. He's our good friend. He's a friend of the show, Josh Freeland, and our good friend Steve.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I think in the Discord now, somebody was talking about they're at like a fancy party and he's like yelling for his drink. I actually made that a soundbite on my phone to like assign to his text messages when they came in. Garçon, where's my drink? This shit is so fucking funny.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So if you want to see people have a panic attack at a fucking fancy party in a fun way, way. Yeah, you can go do that because panic attacks are not fun.
No,
but it's a superhero game based off Batman the Animated Series,
and it is ran in 5th edition D&D.
And is run in 5th edition D&D, and it's a lot of fucking fun. I just convert episodes of that show to D&D, and it works out great because I got 2 real good friends that know what the fuck's up.
Yeah, true
unscripted. They just know what the fuck is up, and like that's true. Why we do the show. So yeah, the Scarecrow one's going on. That's a really good one. It like kind of sets the tone for everything to come after that. We got fucking I forget what session 4 was, but I know session 5 is Mr. Freeze. So if you guys are like looking for specific Batman villains to show up, the Mr. Freeze episode is like arguably our best episode of all time. Nice. So that's coming up, and I'm really excited for that. So if you guys go check it out. It's on the Super Quest Saga feed. Yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
I guess I'll leave off saying that we have really big news coming for Starseeker's Guide to Dragonstar. We're going to try and be opening up the Kickstarter to people who missed it, along with some new artwork and stuff to show off. Obviously, we've released one of the betas. The second one is quickly incoming, and I'm hoping the third one is very quick to follow because I've been working on a lot of stuff that is going to be part of the third beta. That being said, you guys will know as soon as I know, and we will talk about it probably at the top of the 2 or 3 episodes that preclude it.
All right. Well, let's call it a game.
Let's call it a game.
Thanks,
we'll talk
everybody.
to you guys later.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.